we're going to discuss how to do proper splits. It's not really a tutorial about how to get splits, it's more about what they should look like and what are the considerations when you're learning it. As you can see here, there's two major muscle groups that go into splits. The hamstrings, which are at the back of the leg, and then the hip flexor, which is actually at the very front of the leg. If the hip flexor isn't open enough, you're still not going to be able to get all the way down. But if the hamstrings are too tight, you also won't be able to get down. So make sure you work both evenly. This drill is pretty common. What she's doing is actually opening up the hip flexors right now, and then she's going to end up sliding into splits as well. She's focusing on both, and most coaches have the athletes do both of these drills before they actually do splits. It is very common for gymnasts to do splits as a group. It makes them all work together and they all count for each other, so that's just a normal, typical gymnastics sort of mentality. A lot of people ask, how long does it take to learn splits? And this again is all about your motivation. If you really don't want to learn splits, you never will. But if you really do want to learn it, you can learn it within even a couple weeks depending on how much you stretch. I would think that the best thing to do is do 3 sets per leg every day for the first week. See how that feels, because you'll feel a little bit sore. You're stretching the muscles in a way they've never been stretched before, especially if you're new, and you need to have the body get time to basically adapt and understand that what you're doing to it isn't going to hurt it. If you stay strict to that regimen for that first week, you'll notice quite an improvement. You won't be flat like this, but you definitely will notice that you're on the right track. So all you do is then keep adding a little bit more every single day. So instead of doing only 3, you might do 4, and then 4 to 5, and keep building it systematically every 3 or 4 days, and you'll have it probably within the end of the month. Gymnastics coaches tend to have their athletes do oversplit. This means that you're putting a block here and they're actually doing more than just a regular split. They're actually about 2 to 3 inches higher than they would have to be if they just did it on the regular floor. From a physiological aspect, if you're too flexible, you won't get enough power. But if you're too tight, then you're not going to get the range of motion you need in gymnastics. So you got to have a fine balance. Some athletes will be predisposed to have tighter muscles, so you got to do a couple extra sets with them. But generally speaking, there's no genetic component to being flexible. It's just a matter of, are you going to put in the time to really force yourself to go through it? Most kids do not like to do stretching, and they will avoid it at all costs. It is a coach's job to make sure that the athletes are doing stretches every single day, because they're going to get super duper tight and potentially injured if their body's not able to be moved and malleable. Make sure that you're all lined up. As you can see, some of the girls have their butts back a little bit where they're not hitting a straight line. A lot of gymnasts will do their middle splits and all their splits on a line on the floor. This tells them that they're actually straight. Here you can see that the knees are pointed up. This is just to keep the leg linear, straight, so that you don't actually cause an injury. If you start twisting the legs forward and backwards and doing all these different things, then you might be putting a little bit extra strain on the kneecaps, and you don't need that. Generally speaking, we would do splits at the very start of training. We would then do our regular conditioning, our regular events, and then we do another full round of 3 minutes per leg at the very end. And we did this for many years, and it helped me get my splits. Many coaches will actually test the kids in their flexibility. Once a month they'll have a little test at the end, and basically if you can keep getting better, then the coach will still say that you're doing well. If you're getting worse, then the coach will know that you're not motivated and either will address it with the athlete or potentially even the parents. I find from my personal use of the splits that it made me very flexible when I wanted to do pike and other skills, and I couldn't imagine being tight. So it's not necessarily a skill that you have to be able to do some of the cool tricks in trampoline or tumbling or gymnastics, but it's a great way to make sure that you stay limber. Thanks, guys.